One of the best things about the fighting genre is character selection. And one of the reasons why Street Fighter II was so influential was simply because both players got to choose from a large diverse roster of characters with unique moves and attributes. Most prior games either had a ton of characters you could never play as, or a limited roster of not so terribly diverse fighters. Nowadays, the character select screen has become a staple of the genre, and a game with 16 characters is considered sparse. But while having a lot of characters is nice, it makes it harder to choose one because learning a character is ultimately a time investment. Sometimes you'll find the right character from the beginning.
Oh my gosh, I'm maining him.
But people from every skill level often have what's known as a character crisis, so I thought I'd break down the selection process to hopefully make it easier. From speaking with casuals, pros, and everyone in between, I've realized there are really only 3 factors that go into choosing your main, and some are more important than others depending on what your goals are. The first one is perceived strength, and this is why we have what's known as tier lists. We want to know who has the best chance of winning, and that's because we want to win ourselves. Maybe it's not your only goal, but no one wants to lose, and I don't think anyone has ever suffered a win. Of course, there are also people who pick characters that are perceived as weak as a source of pride.
You know me as low tier God.
Or even strategic purposes.
And now Infiltration is going to try to get PROG with some character unfamiliarity now.
But it's hard to know who's weak and strong because tier lists are always changing as players show what their quote weak characters can do. Even a game like NTSC Melee, which has never had a balance update, still had a tier list shaker 12 years into the game's life. This player is known as Amsa from Japan, and basically took bottom tier Yoshi to mid tier with his parrying technique and strong showings at tournaments like EVO and Apex. Whether tier lists can be trusted or not, they affect the metagame, and it's nice to know you pick someone strong so you don't question your character when you lose. The downside is the chances of opponents having learned the matchup is higher, while the chances are lower for lower tiered characters. And to a certain extent, I think this acts as a self-balancing mechanism because people tend to train more against strong characters and sometimes ignore the weaker ones. But using strong characters doesn't matter if you can't use them well, and this takes us to the second factor you should consider when choosing your main: playstyle. There's an expression in Korean, 손에 맞다, which literally means a character fits your hands. This is an apt expression because characters literally have different hand motions you have to master to get good. Street Fighter V's Chun-Li is considered very strong as of June 2016, but good luck using her if you hate charge motions and doing this. Along with hand motions, playstyle can also refer to the design mechanics of the character. 2 playstyles I can think of off the top of my head are the glass cannon, which either kills quickly or gets killed quickly, and the defensive zoner who wins by wearing you down slowly and pissing everyone off. Playstyle is also reflected by how many tools your character has. Some are dead simple, while others can seemingly do everything. This kind of variety is what I think makes a rich fighting game experience that large amounts of people can enjoy. The third factor that should be considered when choosing your character is character. What I mean is the character's traits, like personality, appearance, story, and even values. This might seem trivial to a lot of people, but if you think about it, the character you spend hours training with kind of becomes your avatar, and no one has shown this to be more true than Daigo Umehara. He's been mistakenly called Ryu by commentators. He accidentally reenacted Ryu's Street Fighter II ending at Capcom Cup 2015, and he now has a diorama set with him next to 2 characters he mained in Street Fighter IV, Ryu and Evil Ryu. As intangible as all this may seem, I think playing a character you actually like can affect your attitude and ultimately influence how well you do.
I don't need a DLC. I think the fact that Karen's in the game, that's all I care about.
And everyone has their own reasons for liking a character, whether it's their fascinating lore, or in Luffy's case, cup size. But it goes the other way as well. A competitive player once told me he refused to play a character that was strong and that suited him simply because of the sounds he made. Props to GamerBee for dealing with that for 6 years. But I digress. Choosing a character because of their character traits makes sense because you have to live with them. And while it may seem superficial and noob-like, many pros are doing this as well, and I think there's a reason for it. Playstyle and character are inextricably related, and at times even their strength and tier are determined by the other 2 factors. A good example of this is when characters have an evil counterpart. It's kind of a trope in fighting games now, but let's take a look at Ryu and Akuma. Ryu is a virtuous Shotokan karate practitioner who seeks to improve through honest battles. If you look at his playstyle, his moves represent the fundamental mechanics of the game, with no surprises and no shenanigans, which is why he's often considered an honest character. In tier lists, he often ends up being mid to upper mid tier, and is usually an all-rounder. The character Akuma, on the other hand, also practices Shotokan karate, but is consumed by the dark energy known as Satsui no Hado that makes him super evil. How does this evil translate to his playstyle? Well, for one, he has abilities that broke the game of his debut appearance, which got him banned from tournaments. While Akuma's been more fairly balanced in later incarnations, he still has a reputation of being cheap and dirty, and it makes perfect sense that he's been adopted by Japanese fighting game god Tokido, a player who has no shame in playing like this.
Capitalize. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, John manages to block that one. Big uppercut, doesn't connect. Oh, it's right back to it. What? Oh! Tokido, dirty!
Aside from evil characters, it's also no accident that a huge guy like Zangief is slow and able to withstand more damage, while controversially, the women in Street Fighter games generally have less health. Head developer Yoshiki Okamoto wanted to make Chun-Li's life bar shorter because he believed women are not as strong. Other than the fact that he's probably not going to be invited to Anita Sarkeesian's birthday party, he shows that developers do consider playstyle based on the character's character. As for the character's strength and tier, it's looking like developers are taking game balance more seriously, which is why you'll have incongruent things like Akuma's final form actually being kind of weak. Despite what people tell you, Oni is not banned and he never will be. Personally, I feel that a playstyle that suits you and a character you like are equally very important, while perceived strength doesn't really matter much at all. Unless you're striving to be a pro gamer, it really shouldn't affect your decision, and even then, many pros don't even pick characters they think are the strongest. But that's just what I think. Let me know in the comments who you main and why. This was Gerald from Core Gaming. Thanks for watching, and thanks for helping this channel get to 30,000 subs. It wouldn't exist without you.